Today's story begins with a major confirmation from Federal Reserve Governor Michelle Bowman, who has officially stated that the Federal Reserve is now working on clear regulations for stablecoins inside the United States. She also confirmed that the Fed is coordinating with all important financial groups to create clear rules for digital assets. This is a very important moment because it tells us that the United States is finally moving toward a full regulatory framework for crypto. In this video, everything will be broken down step by step, including the new updates from the SEC, the latest developments around Ripple and XRP, new progress in Japan and Singapore, and a new partnership with RedPay that could push adoption even faster. The first part begins with Michelle Bowman explaining that the Federal Reserve wants banks to compete effectively with non-bank companies in both payments and lending. According to her, the Fed is encouraging banks to innovate and improve their services so they do not fall behind the new digital financial system. She said that the Federal Reserve, along with other regulators, is developing stablecoin regulations required under the new Genius Act, and that they must also bring clarity to digital assets so that banks will know how to support them properly. What this really means is that banks and corporations in the United States are finally going to receive clear rules telling them what they can and cannot do with crypto. Without these rules, most banks have avoided digital assets. But now that the rulebook is coming, everything can finally start moving. This is the early stage of the transformation many people have been waiting for. Bowman also explained that the Federal Reserve is trying to build a regulatory plan that reflects the different levels of risk banks have. She said that small community banks cannot be treated the same as the largest banks, and that regulations must be fair for everyone. She supports efforts to reduce the burden on smaller banks and update old rules that have not changed for years. She also supports improvements to the AML system to help law enforcement while reducing unnecessary pressure on banks. What this shows is that regulators are meeting with many different groups, from the largest banks to the smallest community institutions, to understand what each of them needs for the coming digital era. This is a major sign that the United States is preparing for a complete digital financial shift. To give more context, federal banking and market regulators are now moving away from random enforcement actions and toward a formal rule book for stablecoins and all crypto assets. The Bowman update is part of creating the new Genius Act framework. Once this law becomes active, all regulators must create exact rules that banks and institutions must follow. Writing these rules takes time, and what we are witnessing right now is the beginning of that process. The Genius Act, passed in mid-2025, orders federal agencies to create licensing systems and oversight standards for stablecoin issuers. This includes rules about capital, reserves, and risk management. Bowman told the House Financial Services Committee that regulators are drafting requirements around capital, liquidity, diversification, and reserves so banks can safely support digital assets without risking the stability of the financial system. It is not only about offering crypto services, it is also about protecting the consumer and protecting the banks. The FDIC is preparing the first official rule that explains how stablecoin issuers can apply for federal oversight. More rule proposals will follow, creating a complete structure for the new digital financial system. At the same time, the SEC has created an internal program, often called the Crypto Task Force, that aims to replace their old regulation by enforcement approach with clear and predictable rules for token offerings, trading, and custody. SEC leaders want a clean system that explains which tokens are securities and which are commodities, and how brokers and exchanges must handle them. The SEC is also working with the CFTC on a joint plan to harmonize definitions and avoid conflicting rules. This is extremely important because the market cannot move forward if two agencies give different instructions. Clear alignment between them is one of the final steps before the United States opens the door to large-scale digital asset adoption. All of this connects directly to stablecoins, especially dollar-backed stablecoins. The combination of the Genius Act and new rules from the Fed and FDIC will create a system that treats stablecoin issuers almost like banks. They will need strict reserve requirements, high-quality assets, and guaranteed redemption at full value. These protections will make stablecoins safer for payments and settlement across the financial system. Next, former SEC Commissioner Paul Atkins shared his view that the United States is reaching a turning point for crypto innovation. He said that progress can continue even without new legislation, and that an innovation exemption is almost ready. He explained that government shutdowns slowed their work, but the plan is still moving ahead. According to him, the United States has resisted crypto innovation for too long, and now the goal is to create rules that finally support growth instead of blocking it. On the other side of the world, the UK has just taken a major step. Starting December 2nd, 2025, a new UK law legally recognizes certain crypto tokens, stablecoins, and NFTs as personal property with the same protections as traditional assets. This includes rights in cases of theft or bankruptcy. This means the UK is also building its own rulebook to support digital assets and give them legal recognition. These global shifts show that the digital asset world is becoming more structured and more accepted by governments. Now we move into the Ripple and XRP updates. There has been growing momentum in Singapore, where Thun, a company using Ripple payments, has received a major payments license. This license gives them greater abilities to offer digital payment services. Ripple already expanded its license earlier, allowing it to offer more regulated services, including XRP and RLUSD stablecoin operations. With Thun's integration of Ripple payments and XRP into its systems, banks, fintech companies, and businesses in Singapore will be able to move money much faster and with lower cost. Singapore's regulatory environment is designed to support safe, compliant digital asset activity, making it one of the most important hubs for stablecoin and tokenized payment innovation. What makes this even more interesting is that companies with the proper licenses in Singapore have a massive advantage. Ripple's technology can upgrade a bank's payment system within weeks or months, depending on complexity. That means a traditional bank can quickly move into the digital world and offer instant global settlement. As more companies receive approval and more regulations are finalized, Ripple's ecosystem becomes stronger and more connected. Japan is also preparing new rules that directly support Ripple's services. Ripple Prime and Ripple Custody are expected to play a major role in Japan's digital economy. Japan's Financial Services Agency is introducing new standards for crypto custody, trading management, and stablecoins. Since Ripple already provides regulated custody and trading management services, these new rules will allow Ripple to operate directly in Japan without relying only on partners like SBI. Japan is one of the most advanced financial markets in the world, and Ripple is positioning itself as a core infrastructure provider for trading, settlement, tokenization, and stablecoin operations. This gives XRP greater potential for institutional use. The new partnership with RedPay adds another layer of growth. RedPay, a fintech company focused on stablecoin payments, has partnered with Ripple to allow users to send crypto like XRP or stablecoins and receive Nigerian naira within minutes. This service is now live for verified users with local bank accounts in Nigeria. RedPay offers a crypto payment app and debit card, and now that it is connected with Ripple payments, users can move funds much faster across borders. This partnership supports both XRP and RLUSD, giving Ripple another gateway into emerging markets where payment systems are slow or expensive.